yoga flow. As I just read, to those of you live with me, it is safe to look within. As I move through the layers of other people's opinions and beliefs, I see within myself a magnificent being, wise and beautiful. I love what I see in me. Today's practice, we're starting here on the earth, just getting comfortable. Deepening that inhale. Deepening the exhale. Taking time for that breath to feel nice and easy within the body. Maybe your inhale is getting a little fuller, a little longer. Maybe your exhale is finding new lengths as well. It might feel good to start adding some gentle movements in the body, letting your knees shift a little bit side to side if they've been bent, or if your legs are long, you can plant your heels and just let your toes do a little shifting side to side. Today's practice is going to have some hip opening, some heart opening, and some relief and support for the muscles that surround our low back. So when you feel ready, those knees are going to come up the mat, feet planted right in the center of the mat. And we're going to bring the right knee first into the chest. So just take a little grip around the shin perhaps, or even the back of the thigh, and just point and flex the toes on that right leg. It might feel good to even switch the grip to the back of the thigh and elevate the right leg towards the ceiling. I'm going to rotate back and forth between pointing and flexing the toes on that foot. And then if the grip is on the back of the thigh, it might feel nice to just bend that right knee and slowly bring it down towards the body. I'm pulling my right knee slightly off towards the right edge of my mat and flexing the foot on that right leg. So it looks kind of like a half happy baby. You might even stretch your right hand up to grab towards the inside edge of that right foot and really allow for a release of that knee down towards the earth. My left hand might come and rest right at the pelvis or the hip, the side there of the body, just kind of pushing that, keeping it down into the earth. And then as you feel ready, we'll start to release that, let that right leg go back up, and then just bring the right knee back down, right foot back down, and switch sides. Left knee coming into the chest this time, just as you did before, kind of rocking around, pointing, flexing the toes, rolling the ankle. Switching the grip to the back of the thigh, we'll move back and forth between a pointed toe and a flexed foot. You'll feel the muscles of the shin, as well as the calf, kind of warming up today. With that grip on the back of the thigh, it might feel good to start to bend this left knee over toward the left edge of the mat. Just as we did before, you might reach that left hand up towards the inside edge of that foot, giving yourself a half happy baby. Letting this right hand come down and position itself on the right hip, just giving just some gentle pressure here. Finishing off that half happy baby, we'll take our time to bring this left knee back to center. Put the feet back on the earth. Stretch the arms up overhead. And then just let your knees windshield wiper a little bit right and left. This gets not only for the low back, but maybe a little bit there for the side body. And then we'll plant those feet down on either side, or right in the middle of the mat rather, with a little bit of space between them. Bring your hands down on either sides of the body. You're setting for a bridge pose. So you've got your knees bent, your heels are walked a little bit closer to the glutes. The back of the head is positioned on the earth. And we're just gonna lift and lower with the breath. So perhaps as your next inhale comes around, we'll lift those hips up off the earth. And then when your next breath comes through, you'll slowly lower back down, tracing that spine towards the earth. So your hips may settle into the ground again before you lift them back up, or you might be deciding just to kind of hover today and let the hips have a little bit of space between the floor and the sky, I guess. Just trying to create a little space there. So just take your time lifting and lowering here. Turning on the muscles of the inner thighs, the quads. We don't really want to be clenching the glutes, but we are using them. They are working a little bit with us. Perfect. Next time you lift to the sky, let's go ahead and stay there. Grab 2 more breaths in that bridge pose. Maybe your shoulders start to work just slightly underneath of you, a little more heart opening if that feels good this morning. Perhaps the heels start to lift up off the earth and we walk those shoulders back out, lowering down 1 vertebra at a time. And I'm even gonna take my hands and press on the front side of my body. So put one right at about the sternum and then track that spine down. So I'm just kind of walking my fingers down my spine as I push and release all of that back down to earth. Last thing to hit the mat will be the heels. Bring those knees into the chest when you feel ready and take a big ball shape, kind of hugging nice and close with those knees to the body. And then just elevate your legs to the ceiling. Hands might switch and go to the backs of the thighs. Release the hands long over the head. Make a letter L shape, pushing through the heels. Exhale, breath, bend the knees. Hands come on either sides of the body. Inhale, breath, letter L. Exhale, bend those knees. Hands on either sides of the body. So just take your time, a few more just like this. Inhaling and exhale. The next time the knees are in towards the chest, we're going to stay right there. See if we can lift our head just slightly up off the earth. Give just a little pulse to the hands. And then release, head down to earth, hands relax, grab the fronts of the shins and just rock a little bit side to side. We're ready to move ourselves up to a seated posture, so just take your time, maybe forward and back, rocking on that spine or just rolling to your right or to your left. And then we'll find ourselves in a nice tall seat. You can, of course, add blankets or blocks underneath of your tail, but just get the spine nice and tall. Inhale, breath reaches the fingers up towards the ceiling. Exhale, breath. Let's let this right hand fall down to the earth. Let the left hand follow and just tap right out in front of that kneecap. Beautiful. Inhale, reach this back up and then settle over. Exhale, down, slight tap right out in front of that knee. Inhale, breath up. Let's go again. Same movement, over and down. Give it a tap. Inhale it up. Same breath movement. Exhale it down. Little tap. And then back up. Beautiful work. Exhale, hands down towards the heart, lacing the fingers together. Press these palms straight forward. Let the wrist have a little opportunity to open. Maybe even kind of driving this right and left. And then just let these hands take their time coming in towards the heart. They'll reach around back. Maybe they lace. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just sit comfortably on either sides of you, breathing in, creating space. Perfect. Take your time. Let those hands come forward. We're going to move ourselves onto hands and knees, turning up the pace of the practice just a little bit, moving into tabletop pose. Wrists are under shoulders, knees are under hips. Just take your time to get comfortable in that tabletop. Probably going to rock around here a little bit, open up outer edges of the hips, maybe even shifting a little bit forward and backward. All right, next time those hips are back on your heels, settle into a child's pose just for a moment, resting there. Let the hands start to walk towards the right edge of the mat. They might even reach all the way off onto the floor, off of your mat on the right side. You're going to keep your left hand still reaching over here to the right, but you're going to take your right hand and let it reach back towards the back corner of your mat. So you've got left hand reaching off the right edge of the mat, and the right hand reaching back towards that far back corner. Maybe the head relaxes down into the earth. Big opener for the side body. Hands come back up to the front of the mat and then moving to the center. Over to the other side, we move left. Right hand is going to be just off the edge or right on that edge. As you reach your left hand back towards your feet or back towards the back of your mat, just making a big shape with those arms. See if you can relax your belly down onto the tops of the thighs or right in the middle of those thighs. Head relaxes, neck is not holding on to pressure, tension. Perfect. Hands come back together and then they move to the center of the mat. We'll bring ourselves up onto hands and knees, extending out the right leg, extending out the left arm. Find some length here. Flex the back foot so that the toes are now pointing down towards your mat. As you exhale, you're going to drop your toes down and your fingertips down to touch the floor. When you inhale, you'll lift both back up. So exhale breath drops toes and hands. Inhale breath lifts it back up. Now this hand can come down and go back to the center of the mat, or it can just tap slightly out in front of you. Of course, if it's too much to try to balance all those limbs at once, just operate with your leg. Bring your hand down to the mat and just lift and lower those toes. Give it one more time. You're really focusing on inner thigh and glute. And then just let the hand come back down to the earth. Put yourself so that hands are down on the ground. Bend this back knee, flex the back foot, and then just give it a little lift. So you're kind of pulsing right at that space where the thigh and the glute meet. 2 more pulses. Perfect. Extend that leg nice and long, but let it step all the way over to the left edge of your mat. Look over your left shoulder. Take a big C-curve stretch of your spine. Beautiful work. Foot comes back to the mat. Bring that right knee down, let it balance, lift the left leg, extend, lift the right arm, let it extend. Flex the toes on that back foot. Exhale as your fingers and toes look for the ground. Inhale when you lift it back up. So again, working with your balancing table, seeing what we can do here with strength through core, through the legs, remembering if it's too much to have all those limbs working at once, remember that the hand can come down to the earth and we can just operate with this back leg. Now you can be going a little faster than me, or you can keep your pace a little slower. So give yourself about 2 more. Beautiful. When you're ready, that hand will come back and support itself on the earth. Bend the back knee, flex the foot, give yourself a little pulsing right where the thigh and the glute are meeting. 2 more pulses. Leg extends, and then step it over to the right edge of the mat. Look over that right shoulder. Big C-curve stretch of the spine. All right, beautiful. Bring the foot back to the middle of the mat. Curl the toes under, lift the hips. Let's take your first downward facing dog of this morning's practice, or this practice time you have today. Feel free to bend the knees, push the hips back towards that wall behind you, really walk it out. And then we'll take our time. Slow steps with the feet or a large leap. Start to bring yourself back up here to the front of your mat. Hang in that forward fold. Find your next natural inhale to come up halfway if you haven't already done so. Exhale it back down. Plant the feet. Inhale, reach. Gaze up to the sky. Exhale, open with a cactus arm. Inhale, reach up. Couple half sun salutations here. Exhale, fold right into it. Inhale, coming up halfway. Let the crown reach out. Exhale, fold. Plant the feet. Big inhale. Hands reach. Gaze up. Cactus arms. Straight back into it. Hands go up. Hands will fold. Halfway up. Back to the earth. Plant those feet. Big inhale. Hands reach up. Cactus again. From here, reach the hands back to the sky, but this time give yourself a chair pose. So just bend the knees, sink into those hips. Quick little peek down, make sure that our knees are not out in front of those toes. Hands can be up and extended, maybe even turning the pinkies in to face one another. And then just give yourself a big exhale, fold into the toes. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Step your feet, right foot rather, back towards the back of your mat. And then just drop that right knee down into the ground. You can, of course, use blocks here if you need it. So we're just stepping only right foot back, left foot is staying up close to the front of the mat. Inhale, breath, lift the hands up nice and tall. Low lunge. So we're gonna inhale here, reach. Exhale, fold the hands down towards the floor, towards your blocks. Inhale, pull the toes back towards your face. You guys sink into this back right knee. Exhale, flatten that foot back to the earth. Inhale, lift the hands back up. So let's try that again. Exhale down. Inhale, pull the toes back. Exhale, plant the foot. Inhale, lift the hands. One last time. Exhale down. Inhale, lift the toes. Exhale, plant the foot. Inhale, lift it back up. Beautiful. Right hand is going to come down to the inside of this left foot. It can go on a block or on the earth, and you can take a nice big extended twist here. Feel free to curl the toes under on that back leg, lifting the knee up off the ground if you're looking for something bigger this morning or just want to get up off that knee. Beautiful. Hand that's in the sky takes its time, heads down to earth. If you've been on blocks, we're going to move those just slightly off to the side so that we can take a big step with the front foot all the way to the back of the mat. Downward facing dog, walk it out. Small steps or a large leap when you feel ready. Feet are going to move back up here to your hands. You'll invite in a half lift with the pattern of breath that feels natural to you. Exhaling back to your toes. Inhaling a big solid breath to the sky. Exhale, cactus. Go right into reaching back up to the clouds, bending the knees, sinking into that same chair pose. Legs feel invigorated. We've got lots of energy, blood flow in the low body. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Blocks are invited back in if they want to join. Left foot steps back. Left knee is going to the ground. Again, putting a blanket underneath that knee if you feel like you need a little extra support. You're in that lunge on the earth. Get comfortable with your weight in that front foot. The knee and the arms come up. So the knee's still in the ground, arms are up. All right, same pattern of breath. We'll exhale when the hands come down. Inhale when we stand this set of toes up towards the face. Exhale, flatten it to the earth. Inhale, lift back up. All right, exhale, hands go down. Inhale, toes stand up. Exhale, foot plants. Inhale, back up. All right, same thing. Exhale down. Inhale, stand it up. Exhale it, put it back down. Inhale, hands come up. This time adding the twist, left hand will go to the inside of your right foot, opening for a big twist. Perhaps knee even comes up off the ground, whether you're looking for a bigger shape or just to give that knee a little relief. Keeping link through that back leg, hand that's in the sky takes its time, starts to move down towards the earth. Separating those blocks, maybe moving them off the mat or using them for your downward facing dog. Front foot steps back, let it move to the back of the mat. Put yourself in that upside down V and walk it out. Take turns with a three-legged dog. So bring the right foot to the middle of the mat. See if you can lift the left foot up towards the sky. Keep the back nice and long and extended. And then you're going to bend your right knee and bring it forward towards your nose. Inhale, send that right knee back up to the sky. You're going to do it 2 more times. Bend the right knee, bring it forward towards your nose. Beautiful work. That takes a lot of strength and balance. 1 more. Back up to the sky. Switch legs. Opposite foot goes to the middle of the mat, perhaps building a little tripod. When you feel the exhale, right knee comes forward. And then it goes back up. Forward. Back up. Last one. Foot comes down to the ground, and then opposite of what we usually do, just start bear walking or crawling those hands back towards your feet. Hang in a forward fold or give yourself a half lift. And we'll just take our time to get back up to standing. Hands reaching back up, looking for the sky. Take your time, cactus shape. And then just let the hands settle into the heart. Take a good foundational Tadasana. So thinking about the feet nice and rooted into the earth, the spine lifted and long. A couple gentle breaths or big full breaths, whatever fits your practice. All right, as you feel ready, we're going to take the right foot and let it step forward, just a big step or so up the mat, until you can build yourself a warrior 1. So my right knee is forward, my left foot is back, my left toes are turned slightly out, about a 45, my hips are square up the front, so that's kind of what we're shooting for. And then just let these arms come up nice and strong. Beautiful. Relax the shoulders. So your flowing breath here is going to be hands down on either sides of the heart, exhaling to press them straight forward, long extended spine, and then bring them back. So you know this movement. We've done it pretty frequently in here, so just take your time. Now, the next time you extend those arms out, I want you to hold them there. Exhale and hold. Find an inhale breath. Exhale down. Next natural exhale, let the hands find the earth or a set of blocks. Move your weight towards that front foot and move yourself into standing split. So what that means, I'm going to move my blocks tall, weight goes forward, back leg lifts, and I turn it into a balance pose. My toes on the back leg are pointed down towards the earth, similar to that three-legged dog. As you exhale, see if you can bring this knee in towards your nose and then send it back out. So this is your lifted leg that's getting to move, similar to what we were doing when we did that three-legged dog. Maybe one more for good measure. It usually takes the first one to kind of figure things out. Once that leg is extended, go ahead and drop it down into the earth. This time, let it find warrior two. So the toes are turned so that they're even with the back edge of your mat. Your front knee is bent. Your arms take T. Gaze over that front hand. Flip it towards the sky. And just give yourself one round of the warrior dance. Beautiful work. Back to that warrior two. All right, we're going to cartwheel everything forward towards this front foot. Your front foot can then step to the back of the mat. If you're ready for a vinyasa, this is where it would go. You'd move yourself from down dog to either a full plank or plank on your knees. You'd exhale to lower down into the earth. Find either a cobra or a gentle up dog. And then just transition yourself slowly, either to your knees for child's pose if you need a little break, or you can put yourself in down dog. So knees can be on the earth, hips can be lifted up. You got 2 more breaths in whatever pose you choose here. But be intentional with it. Pay attention to the sensations moving up and down the backs of your legs, across your low back, through the muscles of your hands, shoulders, hips. If you've been in child's pose, meet us in down dog and then start walking your hands back to meet your feet. If you're already in down dog, that's where you go next. Is just start walking those back, half lift or roll your spine up slowly, one vertebra at a time, whatever style is more your thing. Hands settle back down when they're ready into Tadasana right there at the heart, or maybe even dropping them down on either sides of the hips. Let the crown lift up towards the ceiling, stand tall and strong. All right, friends, when you're ready, your left foot this time just starts to step forward. And it usually takes a couple kind of wiggles to get this feeling right. So that left foot is forward, good, nice bend in that front left knee. Right toes are turned slightly outward as much as you can, trying to put those hips forward. Hands come up just for a breath or so to really sink in, let that hip flexor have some opening. And then just bring these hands down on either sides of your heart, just as you did before, and play with a little bit of movement. And the next time those hands extend out, hold there. We're going to give it 2 breaths. Now your exhale will bring the hands either down to earth, or you might reach for those blocks that are nearby. When you feel ready, the weight is going to shift forward into this front foot, and you're going to take it into standing splits again. So the left leg becomes your standing leg. Right toes are pointed down towards the earth, trying to limit the need to turn that right hip out. As the next natural exhale comes, this knee moves itself, right leg, towards the nose. Extend it out. So we did about 4 of those last time. Keep breathing. Perfect. Let that right foot start to turn and fall down towards the earth. Letting go of the blocks as you feel ready. Right foot is flat or parallel with the back of your mat, and you're back into that same warrior, dancing one time through, taking that left hand, flipping it, reversing, back through to side angle. Really keeping whatever design is on the t-shirt, turn to the side. Don't drop that top shoulder to the earth, back to warrior 2. And then just cartwheel through for another vinyasa, or a down dog, or a child's pose, wherever you are. Vinyasa often looks like plank to the floor with either an up dog or a gentle cobra, transitioning yourself back to downward facing dog. But just knowing that this practice is yours, so if that space, those shapes don't look good, don't feel good, you're not ready for that, it's too much movement, okay. Release where you are, down into the earth. All right, so if you've been in down dog, let's just take our time, drop knees to the earth if they aren't already there. Sink into either child's pose or puppy pose. Arms can be extended, or if the shoulders need a little break, you might bring your hands back towards your feet and flip your palms towards the sky. Really letting the crown of the head pull forward, but let the forehead fall down into the mat. And we'll just find breath here. One more solid inhale with an easy exhale. Perfect. Take your time. Slowly start to walk hands forward. If you know you have sensitive knees, we're going to do a little section here on our knees. So you might want to look for your blanket if you'd like. You can go ahead and just put it right underneath both of your knees. We're going to be on one knee at a time, but just laying it across the middle of the mat might be good here. When you're ready, we're going to extend our left leg nice and long out behind us, and then turn that left foot so the inside edge is touching to the mat. You're going to take this right foot and let it turn slightly out to the side as you start to cartwheel up or lift the chest up into a little bit of a gate pose. You can keep right hand down on the ground if you want to do a version of modified side plank, or you can build up tall and lift your hands up. If both hands have been lifted, let's take a right hand back down to the earth. If your right hand's already there, feel free to embrace that shape, or you can kind of close the door a little bit. Perfect. As you feel ready, left hand now comes to the ground. Curl the toes under on the left foot as well as your right, and just do a little half down dog. So you've kind of turned yourself back square to the mat. Right knee's on the earth, but we're going to lift it just enough to get a big calf stretch through that back left leg. Yes, exactly. Perfect work. Drop that knee, right knee back to the earth. Left knee looks for the ground this time. Now extend the right foot out long, just as you did before. Flip the inside of that right foot to the ground. Maybe bring the left foot out a little bit behind you. Left hand stays on the earth as the right hand opens up. And then it might feel nice to bring everything up. We did this last time as well, kind of just bringing both arms up towards the ceiling. You can stay right here, or some of you I even saw were kind of leaning into this right leg. Cartwheeling left hand back down. Take just another breath or two in that side plank. Looking for extension across the front of the chest with the right hand lifted to the sky. Right hand takes its time. It's going to move back down towards the earth, just kind of spinning so that everything is square with the mat. Toes curl under on both feet, but we're just doing a slight lift of the left foot up, or left knee up off the ground so that we can push through that right heel. Get a nice big calf stretch. Nice work. Take your time, knees drop back down into earth, both of them. Inhale, breath, hands slide back by the hips. Exhale to release. All right, right hand is going to take just a little backstroke so that the right palm can rest on the low back. Left hand then does the same thing, just a nice big shoulder rotation, hands resting at the low back. It might feel good to have pinkies touching one another, or some of you might have shoulder flexibility where you can turn your thumbs in towards one another. Let those shoulders roll away from your ears, and then just try to lift right through the center of your chest. A nice modified camel. Of course, if a full camel is part of your practice and you're ready for that big heart opener, you can rotate into something larger. But this is just a good space to feel that opening across the front side body. Not a lot of stress on the low back because we're lifting up through the heart rather than pushing our hips forward. One more big breath. Next natural inhale, let the hands move off the body. Maybe even lift up above your head. And then we'll just exhale to fold forward, letting the hands find themselves about shoulder distance apart, fingers spread nice and wide. Take your downward facing dog. If you still have that blanket on the mat, you can leave it there. Our next pose is pigeon, and sometimes having the blanket nearby is good for support with hips. When you're ready, right foot lift, similar to that same three-legged dog we did earlier. Right knee moves forward towards your right wrist. Maybe even let it settle down right behind the left or the right wrist. Toes cutting kind of a 45-degree angle across your mat. My back knee touches, and then I just take my time, knee toe to kind of walk that out. Checking my hips to make sure they're nice and square. They're settling down into the earth. I can add props. Maybe one goes under this hip or a blanket. Or if this just doesn't work for you, you can always roll out of it and bring that right hip down to the ground, even softening this back knee. And then just relax into it. Many of you have dropped down to forearms or put blocks underneath your head. You're really taking this shape to a personal level, which is what I love to see. So just take your time. Allow the hips to open, creating a little bit more space in our low back. Surrendering that forehead down to a block or to the earth, to your fist. All right, beautiful work. Take your time. Slowly start to walk the chest back up. We're just going to transition from this pigeon back into your down dog. The toes can curl under on that back foot. You might have a nice smooth transition, or you might use your knees, whatever makes most sense in your physical body. And then we'll plant the right foot in the center of the mat, lifting up that left foot, three-legged dog again, before bringing this knee forward, left knee towards your left wrist, and then just ease it all down. We should be on the other side. Taking your time to walk knee toe out with that long leg. Use whatever props you might need and watch to make sure that you're not sitting on that left knee. So if it doesn't want to move all the way up the mat, you can always use props underneath the outer edge. Kind of give yourself a little bit more space, a little bit more support. Spine is long. Let the belly relax down towards the earth. Let your forehead find something to settle on. And just breathe. Use this pose to allow for some release. Shifting through all the discomforts, whether they be physical, mental, emotional. Let each breath of air bring in a sense of peace and calm. Reminding our bodies that we can get out of fight or flight, that necessary need to produce cortisol and get our emotions, physical body up and ready to fight. We don't need that right now. Just let the body rest, let it relax, let it release in this pose. Next natural inhale will start to bring us back awake, back to some movements in the hands. You can curl toes under and lift back up for your final downward facing dog. Sometimes it's a nice transitional piece to kind of walk that all out. Or maybe you feel better in a wide-kneed child's pose or a full vinyasa to open up the front side body one last time. And then we'll just take our time after that down dog feels complete. After your child's pose, we're just going to move into a seated posture. So crawling through, walking legs out from behind you to in front of you, whatever makes the most sense. And then just come to a tall seat. Knowing that you can use a blanket underneath the tip of the tail or a block. And I'm going to bring the soles of my feet together right away, looking for bound angle. If that works for you, go ahead and take that shape as well. If after that big hip opener, you feel like you don't need quite that shape, you might go into something like diamonds, where your feet are a little bit further out in front of you, maybe even reaching for the support of the blocks to put on the outer edges of those knees. And just sit with a nice tall spine. Maybe it feels good to hinge at the hip creases and let the chest slowly fall forward to the middle of your angle shape you've created. Maybe it feels good to listen to your neck and let your chin fall down towards chest, or your right ear to move towards the right shoulder. Any easy movement that feel like they make sense. As the body feels ready, our chest will slowly start to come back up. If you've folded forward, you'll help these knees back to center. And then we'll start to move ourselves back onto our back. If you've got blocks handy, at least one would be nice here as we start to rotate, letting the back move itself onto the earth. It might make sense to go ahead and start to immediately hug those knees to chest, or invite in a little gentle windshield wipering of the knees from side to side. We're definitely to the phase of the practice where things should feel a little less work. So those at home, if you've been listening to a little bit more upbeat music, now would be a great time to switch it to more of a Savasana playlist, something that's going to allow your mind to melt into the earth, along with your physical body. Heels are going to take their time and walk a little closer to your glutes. Maybe you reach for that block that you have handy, and you lift your hips up off the ground, sliding the block underneath, right at what we often call the sacrum. So not the small of the back or that rounded part, not too far down the tail, just right where we feel a nice connection with the earth. Hands can stay on the sides, they can rest on the belly, on the heart. Your feet can stay on the earth, or you can, of course, lift the feet towards the sky. If plow pose is part of your practice, or shoulder stand, and you want to lift a little higher up off this block, or bring the toes up and over the head, letting them look for the wall behind you. Either of those bigger shapes, if they're something that resonates with you, you certainly can have the space to do that. But anytime we lift our feet up above our heart, we're flipping ourselves upside down, taking any version of an inversion. This helps with circulation, rerouting the blood back down towards the heart, gives our nervous system a little flip, lets our body try to assess and figure out what's up and what's down. This gives you a renewed sense of energy within the body. It's a good way to wake us up inside. Yet feeling grounded by using the block underneath the back gives us a little bit more connection to the earth. As this pose starts to feel complete, you might feel a bend in the knees coming on, maybe walking 1 foot at a time back down to the earth. Perhaps still keeping that block under the back. It might feel nice to extend your right leg long and then maybe your left leg. Of course, if it's too much to have both legs extended with this block underneath the back, you can do it 1 leg at a time. Slowly walking those feet back and a little closer to us. We'll take our time to transition this block out from underneath. Feet are on the earth, hips are lifting slowly as we remove that block from underneath the back. Soles of the feet perhaps looking for one another as the knees fall out and open to the sides, reclined bound angle. Maybe it feels nice to let the right hand rest on the heart as the left hand sweeps itself across the belly, kind of hugging us along our lower torso. And then just revisit the sensations of breath. Using the inhale to allow the belly to rise towards the ceiling. Exhale breath, allow that belly button to move down towards the spine. Feeling free to stay within this shape for as long as you may like. Or if at any point in time you'd like to extend your legs out, taking them from this bound angle, maybe to more of a traditional Savasana, feel free. Hands can stay in that hugged position across the belly and the heart, or you might turn the hands down to let them rest on either sides of the body, palms flipped up to the ceiling. We can stay here on our back, or if it feels more appropriate to roll to your right or left side, feel free to move into a side lying Savasana. And then just embrace where you are today. Whether that be in the physical studio with us or at home, let your body feel at peace as it grounds to the earth beneath you. Let your heart feel a sense of light and love as it feels open, resting here on the earth. Accepting in any sensations of calm that come with each breath in this final resting pose. Allowing just for the simple tone, sound of my voice to bring you back when it is time. Your eyes can close, no longer focused on the screen or me here in person. Just let your body feel at ease. Slowly starting to become aware of your breath. Take your time to add gentle movements back into the body. Whether those be an easy wiggling of the fingers or of the toes. Maybe you sweep with your nose, kind of drifting back and forth across the ceiling. Maybe you add bends to the knees, windshield wipering or hugging them close. Moving the toes, the ankles. Taking whatever necessary movements allow you to come back to this present moment. Perhaps moving to your right hand side to rest, allowing the heart to be elevated before taking time to move back to your seat. When you find yourself in a seated posture, we'll bring our palms together, touching one another, maybe even bringing the thumbs in towards the heart. And we'll close today's class with a final reading. Today's is entitled, taking care of ourselves. Call on God, but row away from the rocks. Indian proverb. Having faith in the guidance of a higher power does not mean giving up responsibility for our own actions or inactions. Whatever spiritual beliefs we may have, we know that life gives us opportunities to make choices. Recognizing these opportunities and acting accordingly is one of the ways that we can honor our beliefs. I pray for guidance when I'm troubled, but I also need to take action to make things better. As we often hear, God helps those who help themselves. I greatly appreciate you taking this time for yourself, to care for ourselves, to look within, and move and breathe alongside all of our fellow yogis. May you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again for joining me. Namaste.